Folk horror is a genre that feels old, not just in time, but in memory. It's obsessed with the past. Sometimes it lives there completely. Other times, it lets the past bleed quietly into the present. And from my perspective, folk horror hits differently because this genre is built on rules, unspoken ones. Rules about behavior, obedience, sacrifice, and what happens when a woman steps outside them. Witchcraft, paganism, spirits, devils, ancient gods that demand devotion. You'll find similar imagery in Gothic horror, but there it's framed by castles and aristocracy, by wealth and power. Today I'm sharing my favorite folk horror films that don't just scare me, but linger. This list is personal. Every movie here is one I've sat with, thought about, and carried with me long after the credits rolled. There's still so much folklore left to explore, but from what I've seen, these films represent the genre at its most honest. So, let's deep dive into it. 2010 Black Death takes us straight into one of the most merciless moments in human history. Medieval Europe is collapsing. The Black Plague is everywhere. Rotting bodies, empty villages, faith pushed to its breaking point. And in the middle of all this, we follow a young priest. He's not a hero in the modern sense. He's gentle. He doubts. He still believes mercy might matter. A group of medieval knights recruit him for a journey to a remote village, a place rumored to be untouched by the plague. To them, that's not a miracle, that's a crime. The knights are convinced the village is protected by witchcraft, necromancy, pagan rituals, and they're not going there to ask questions, they're going there to erase it. From my perspective, what makes this film so disturbing isn't just the violence, it's the mindset. This is a time when religion was weaponized and fear justified everything. These aren't noble knights, they're witch hunters, men who believe that purity can be enforced through pain and that God always agrees with the sword. The young priest, played by Eddie Redmayne, feels like the only character with a soul still intact. He's dragged along on this journey, forced to witness brutality he doesn't fully understand but can't escape. And Sean Bean, leading the knights, is terrifyingly convincing, not because he's cruel in a theatrical way, but because he feels real. He embodies a man who genuinely believes he's righteous, which historically is always the most dangerous kind. When they finally reach the village, the truth is complicated. Yes, it's pagan, possibly a cult, led by a woman accused of being a witch. And honestly, she's one of the most compelling characters in the film. She's calm, charismatic, intelligent, a woman who understands power in a world that fears women who possess it. The themes hit hard: witchcraft, necromancy, raising the dead, forbidden belief systems. But the film never gives you the comfort of clear morality. There are no clean heroes, no easy villains, just two belief systems colliding: Christian absolutism versus pagan survival, and the devastation that follows when neither side is willing to bend. This movie is bleak, it's violent, and it's deeply sad. And I think that's why a lot of people don't like it. It doesn't reassure you, it doesn't guide you toward who you should root for. It just shows you what happens when fear, faith, and power collide in a world where empathy has no protection. And honestly, that makes Black Death one of the most effective folk horror films I've ever seen. Because it doesn't try to make the past relatable, it forces you to face it. November takes us to 17th century Estonia, to a village so poor that survival itself feels like a ritual. Winter here isn't just cold, it's threatening. And the people living in this village don't survive because they're strong. They survive because they're resourceful, desperate, and willing to believe. Magic isn't hidden in this world, it's practical. Folk remedies, spells, deals with dark forces, they're treated the same way we treat to. What struck me immediately was how normal everything felt. There's a priest, references to Jesus, but this is still a pagan village at heart. Faith here isn't exclusive, you use whatever works. The film moves like an anthology, following different villagers as they struggle through hunger, loneliness, jealousy, and longing. And at the center of it all is a young woman quietly trying to make a man love her. Not in a fairy tale way, in a desperate way. The kind of longing that comes from knowing love might be the only beautiful thing you'll ever experience in your life. One of the most fascinating elements of the film is the krat. In Estonian folklore, a krat is a magical creature people build themselves out of old tools, farm scraps, random household objects shaped into something almost human. Then, out of pure necessity, they sell their soul to the devil to bring it to life. Not for power, not for wealth, just to survive the winter. What I loved is that the film doesn't build up to this like it's shocking. From the very beginning, a krat just exists. It walks, it talks, and you're sitting there thinking, wait, are we just accepting this? Yes, because for these people, magic is normal. Hunger is the real horror. There are witches in this film, but no witch burnings, no accusations, no hysteria. Magic isn't punished here, it's expected. And that makes everything feel more intimate and somehow more unsettling. Visually, the black and white cinematography is stunning. It strips the world down to bone and shadow, making every expression feel heavier, every glance more meaningful. But what surprised me most, what I wasn't prepared for, was how deeply romantic this film is. By the end, I was completely emotionally invested, and I won't say whether the feelings it left me with were hopeful or devastating. You'll have to experience that yourself. 2018 Apostle takes place in 1905, and it begins with a man willingly walking into a nightmare. He travels to a remote island, infiltrating an isolated religious society not because he believes in them, but because his sister has been kidnapped by them. From the outside, this is another pagan cult story, a mysterious goddess, rituals, a closed-off community that smiles just a little too slowly. But what makes Apostle different and far more disturbing to me is that this cult is already failing. This isn't Midsommar, where everyone is blissfully indoctrinated and spiritually fulfilled. These people are tired, they're hungry, they're angry, and some of them desperately want out. The land they live on is described as scorched earth, a place where nothing should grow, no crops, no civilization. But the cult leaders discovered something ancient, a goddess who could make the land fertile. Not reliably, not without cost, and now that power is slipping away. The foundation of the cult is visibly crumbling throughout the film. Faith turns into fear, ritual turns into punishment. Everyone can feel it, and when belief stops providing comfort, violence steps in to replace it. This film is directed by Gareth Ellens, who also directed The Raid, and you can feel that DNA immediately. This isn't slow, poetic folk horror, it's brutal. The atmosphere is thick and oppressive, yes, but the violence is sudden, bloody, and relentless. It's not stylish, it's desperate, and that actually fits the story perfectly. This is what happens when a belief system stops working but refuses to die. The performances elevate everything. Dan Stevens is incredible in the lead, physically intense, emotionally closed off, carrying grief and rage in equal measure. Lucy Boynton brings a fragile defiance that feels painfully real. And Michael Sheen is fascinating, a man who once believed deeply, now clinging to power as faith erodes beneath him. Apostle isn't about enlightenment. It's about what happens when people realize their God might not be listening and decide to keep sacrificing anyway.